Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Okay, so for today's video, I thought I would go ahead and do a what's on my Kindle currently, what I am reading, what I want to read, and what I have like in my Kindle Unlimited library, recent books that I've purchased, and what's in my KU. I've seen a few YouTubers do this video recently, and I haven't done one in a really long time, so I thought now was the perfect time to do it. So let's go ahead and see what's in my Kindle. I am excited. I'm excited to share with y'all what I've gotten here. So let's start out with what is most new on my Kindle, and that would be a couple of arcs. So I recently just barely got the arc for Unloved by Peyton Corinne. This is book 2 in her hockey romance series. The first one was Unsteady, which is still one of my favorite romances that I have read this year. I absolutely love that one, so I'm very excited about that. That doesn't come out until next February, I believe, but I think it's going to be amazing. I also have Monarch on here by Sophie Lark. This is the second book in her new dark romance series. Grimstone was the first. I did not read Grimstone. I love Sophie Lark. I love her books. I haven't kept up with her newest releases, and Grimstone is one that I probably am not going to read because I've heard that it's probably not going to be a book for me, but I am really interested in Monarch, so that's one that I definitely want to try and get to. Let's see, I will not mention the books that I've already mentioned that are on this Kindle. Another book that I have is Coldhearted. This is a paranormal romance that I have literally heard nothing but great things about. I feel like everybody loves this. I am actually going to be reading this very soon, and I'm very excited. Paranormal romance, and I've heard this is basically kind of like Twilight, but if she chose Jacob instead, which sounds fabulous, sounds very fabulous. I also have a fantasy romance. This one is on KU, by the way. Coldhearted is on KU. The other books I mentioned were arcs. So Coldhearted is on KU. Scattered Bones. The Scattered Bones is a dark fantasy romance that I just happened to see on Kindle Unlimited one day. I think I had returned a book, and you know how it pops up like, you might like these. This was one of them, and the cover kind of got me, and I was thinking maybe it was like a Hades and Persephone kind of vibe. So I just checked it out. I didn't know what it was about at all, and then when I looked at the description, it's basically like her love died and his bones were scattered and she has to go and find them. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm intrigued. I don't know if that means that she's going to like resurrect him, or if possibly she's going to find a new love interest on the way of trying to find her old love's bones. I haven't heard anything like this before, and I thought it sounded pretty great. I do know, like, when I looked into this a little bit, the author is, you know, she kind of is making a point in her author bio to say, like, hey, I write a lot of different genres. So, all that being said, I do feel like this is romance, so I'm expecting happily ever after. So either, to me, that's either gotta be she resurrects her ex-love who has passed away, which is why he's an ex, or she finds a new love on the journey to find her ex-love's bones. Either way, we're getting a happily ever after, right? Okay, now another book that is on KU that I have that I really wanted to get to before Halloween is If It Makes You Happy. I've been hearing about this book a lot. This is like a 90s romance, which sounds so fun. I love that time period, of course. And I've heard this is like cozy, contemporary, great Halloween vibes. I thought this was just fall because the blurb does say something like Thanksgiving pies, so I thought this would work for after Halloween, but I heard from somebody else that a lot of this does take place on Halloween, so I don't know. I still definitely want to read it. I mean, I feel like the title is basically a riff off of the Alanis Morissette song that we all know and love, right? Unless you're like a brand new Gen Zer, then maybe you don't know that. Anyways, okay, so now this next one is also on KU. I picked this up because of a TikTok video I saw the author do, and I was immediately intrigued. It's called Everlong, Immortal Love by, let's see, hold on a second, let me get this up, by R. Rada. So it says that it writes magical realism with an emphasis on romance. She's a reader's favorite gold medalist for literary fiction. So I will say this is maybe me being a little judgy, but anytime you compare literary fiction and romance, I am immediately thinking, okay, so this doesn't have a HEA then? Is that what you're telling me? If you're telling me this is a literary fiction, does it have a happily ever after? Because I have yet to meet a literary fiction that has a happily ever after. If you know of one, let me know. Anyway, I'm concerned about that. I didn't know that. I thought this was just straight romance. So now I looked into this a little bit, and this is Immortal Love and Eternal Life. This is our heroine. She doesn't remember her death or even her awakening. So she's dead, but she's sort of like walking the earth in her body still. Her body doesn't age or degrade, but her mind does. Interesting. Every night she writes stories about the broken and abandoned things she finds littering the park. As the decades pass, the city skyline grows. Her body remains immortal and unchanged, even as her mind decays. She is the pin holding the hands of the clock, fixed and entirely alone as the world moves around her. The literary fiction is showing right there. Until Sam de la Cruz, a young man of summer smiles, takes a seat beside her and an unlikely friendship blooms. Months pass and their relationship grows, but her mind and memories continue to fade until Sam realizes the strange, lonely woman he's come to love is more than what she seems. A story about love, loss, and what it means to live forever. This was a gold medalist 2022 reader's favorite for literary fiction. So I think it sounds good. And I don't have anything against literary fiction. I really don't. What I have a problem with, and what I think my fellow romance readers will agree, I don't have a problem with literary fiction. I enjoy reading it when I want to, when I'm in the mood for it. I do not like when romance is mislabeled. So if this is a love story that doesn't have a happily ever after, and it is labeled as romance for marketing hype, but it's actually a literary fiction with a tragic ending, I'm gonna be freaking pissed off, and y'all will never hear me shut up about this book and how much it pissed me off. Haven't done that in a while. So I don't know about that. I'm a little nervous now. The only reason, like, I wish I knew the TikTok, I probably have it saved somewhere, that inspired me to pick up this book, because reading the blurb, now I'm sort of like less interested, which I didn't read the blurb. I just grabbed it off of KU because I liked the cover, I liked what I saw on TikTok, and I hadn't heard anybody else talking about it. And I kind of like reading books like that I know nothing about. But then you run the risk of this type of situation, right? And I don't know, I could be completely wrong. If you've read this book and it has a happily ever after, please spoil us all in the comments, because we're mostly romance readers here and we want to know. And it's not a spoiler if it's a romance. Romances need an HEA. Okay, anyway, moving right along. Now, this next book that is on here is one that is a book I really, really, really want to get to, because Erin from She Is Too Fond of Books on Instagram read this, loved it, and I was so intrigued with the concept. It is Beautiful Wreck by Larissa Brown, I believe. This is an interesting one. It is basically set in two different time periods. So we have 22nd century, and then she's studying like Vikings and things like that, and she's kind of transported back to 10th century Viking time period. So there is a big romance in here, and I just think that sounds fascinating. Obviously that's not brand new, but I think that the way that Erin was talking about this had me really invested and intrigued, and so I bought it, actually. Like, this is not a book that was on Kindle Unlimited. I bought the ebook. It wasn't very expensive, like $3 or $4, I think, and it has still sat there, so that's a book I really want to get to, for sure. I've been so pushing ARCs lately, physical, when I'm reading on my Kindle. I've been reading so many ARCs, and also, like, Halloween type of books, or seasonal type of books, that I haven't really... And honestly, I kind of forgot about this. I kind of forgot about this because it wasn't popping at the top on my Kindle. On my Kindle, I'm looking at my phone, which Kindle app on there, which has books ordered differently. Interesting. Okay, now next book that I want to talk about. I do have Sunday Morning by Jewel E. Ann. I definitely have to read this. I want to read this. I really like Jewel E. Ann. Everything that I've read from her has been very good, and I've heard great things about this. I believe this is Small Town. I know she does pretty emotional stuff. And cowboys, I'm always here for a cowboy romance. So, alright, now this next book I picked up when it was free, because some of my patrons were talking about Stuff Your Kindle Day. There was just like a small one, I feel like. It wasn't broadly talked about. This was recently. And they were talking about what they had picked up. She mentioned, I believe it was Serenity, mentioned she got this book and another one, and so I kind of went to go grab them because I am interested in this book. I have heard about this for a long time. I think I first heard of this book from Jess at Honest Fiction, and it is White Horse Black Knights, a fantasy romance. Now, this did get pushed further up on my radar because I just recently saw a TikTok video about this, and the girl was saying that if you like Aragorn vibes, this is the fantasy romance for you. And do y'all know how many times I have said that is what I want? So if this does not give me Aragorn vibes, I am never trusting TikTok again. Okay, moving right along. So now I have a fantasy book. There was also a day when there were like dragon books that were free on Kindle, and I picked up a couple of those, but this is the one that I want to talk about because I am really, really interested in this. I've heard great things about it. It is Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill? I don't know how you say his name, I apologize. I don't know a thing about what this is about other than it is high fantasy and there are dragons involved, and I feel like I'm gonna like it a lot. I've heard really good things about it, mostly from fellow fantasy readers on TikTok, whose opinion I trust pretty well. Okay, so now this next one was also recommended to me from a patron, and this is on KU. This is a fantasy romance, and it is Leviathan's Song. So this was recommended to me by Erin, and she was really curious to know my opinion on it, so I immediately grabbed it, and I definitely do want to read this sooner rather than later. I am very curious about this. I don't really know what this is about, but I will say the thing that intrigues me about this is when she told me about this in our Discord, in our Patreon Discord, she was like, I really want to know your opinion on this, and I didn't recognize the cover. The title kind of piqued my interest a little bit because I was like, that sounds familiar. And then I looked at it on Amazon when I went to go check it out, and it's like, oh, you checked this book out last year. But it was one of those Kindle books that I checked out and then I just never got to, so I returned it so something else could take its place, like you do when you have 20 books to go through. So this is basically a siren fantasy romance, I believe. Our heroine is racing to save a dying city. Her best hope lies with a seductive siren, but brooding Levi has his own reasons for keeping her at arm's length. So he is a siren? Interesting. As an elven weaponsmith, Alara is an expert in crafting beautiful, deadly things. So she's the weapons expert who crafts beautiful, deadly things, and he is the siren. That's very interesting. When an underwater city known as the Deep sends for her help, she's determined to answer the call, but between murderous gangsters and razor-sharp foreign politics, Alara is ill-equipped to handle the situation on her own. Levi Navarre is half merman and all-brooding sardonic wit. Landlocked, jaded, and rejected by his people, the last thing Levi wants to do is get involved in underwater affairs. Okay, this is interesting. So is he the siren or is he a landlocked merman? I don't know, but I'm very intrigued with that so far. Okay, Erin, that sounds interesting. I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited to read that. Okay, so now this next one is an arc that I am actually currently reading. It is A Journey Thrice Begun by Sean Bobby Kerr. This is a debut fantasy author, fantasy with a dash of romance. This feels very fairy tale-esque. I'm very much enjoying this. The writing style is very whimsical and fun. Really good characters. This comes out on October 31st. Okay, let's see. What else have we got in here? Okay, I do have Metal Slinger in here, which I did mention in a... Actually, that book is on my October TBR. I'm not going to be able to get to it in time. But this is a fantasy romance that I am very, very interested in. I know Rachel from Raven Haired Reader really loves this, and she's the one who put this book on my radar. Also, the cover is just so completely stunning, so I'm super hyped about that one. Okay, so now this one is an arc. This one, I believe, comes out in November. I can't exactly remember. It's the new Lorraine Heath. I'm very, very excited for a new Lorraine Heath. It is A Tempest of Desire. Super stoked about that one. You can never go wrong with Lorraine Heath. Honestly, you truly can't. Now, this next one is a book that I also bought. It is not a book on Kindle Unlimited, but it is a historical romance. This is a book that I saw Sarah McLean talking about, how it was so deeply romantic and she really, really loved it. And so I was immediately like, well, I for sure need to have that one. It is Don't Let Your Dukes Grow Up to Be Scoundrels. This is from a new to me author. This has very few reviews. This only has 6 reviews on the Kindle store. It says, let's see. So she is living the darling of London's fast set, Lady Gemma Lively. She has exciting friends, fashion, scandalous parties. Her father dies, leaves her family with nothing but a dilapidated coach. coaching in at the end of the earth. It's up to Gemma to change her fate, so she needs a rich husband immediately. The only bachelor in sight is a devilishly distracting barkeep who doesn't know the peerage from a pint glass, but he is actually a duke in disguise. Okay, that sounds so good and so unique and so fun. So here's hoping that that is all of those things, because that literally sounds absolutely amazing. Okay, let's go ahead and see what else is on my Kindle Unlimited library. I'm very curious to see what I have on Kindle Unlimited, for sure. Okay, I've mentioned some of them. I'm not going to mention all of them because this video has already been 15 minutes long. I do have Do Me a Favor by Kathy Yardley. This is a contemporary romance. I know that she's pretty famous for writing books with older characters, which I am very interested in. Most of Kathy Yardley's books are read and listen on KU, so when you check out the Kindle book, the audio is also there, and I really, really love that. I read Roleplay by her last year, and I really liked that. That was super fun, and I've been meaning to get to more of this author's works just because I know that they are on KU in that way, but I just haven't yet. You know, too many books, too little time. So, okay, now another book that I have on here is Falling Like Stars by Emma Scott. I love Emma Scott, and I need to get to this. I got this like I checked it out from KU the day it released, and I just haven't gotten into it yet. But I'm going to. I'm very hyped about that. I don't believe there's an audio for it yet, so it is one I'm going to have to physically read, but that's okay because I want to do that. So, okay, now I also have Vesselless, which is a fantasy romance I was hearing a lot about, and this is probably going to stay in my KU library for a long time because I heard there was like some question of, is she getting picked up for traditional? Are they pulling it from KU? And then I just heard Mimo read, specifically on Instagram. She reads a lot of fantasy romance, and while I don't 100% align with her taste, I love the way that she just reads so many and recommends them. This was one that she absolutely loved, and I immediately put it in my KU library, so it's towards the bottom, and I have to read this. I don't know exactly what this is about, but the hype got me with this one, okay? The hype got me. Okay, so now the last book that I want to talk about that I have on KU is The series is The Spider's Mate, so you know what I'm talking about, right? It's the Tiffany Roberts, and it is Ensnared. So Ensnared is a monster romance with a spider hero, and to be quite honest, I don't know that I'm actually a monster romance kind of girly. Like, fantasy romance, yes, 100%. Alien romance, even, yes. Monsters, I don't know how I feel about that. To be fair, I haven't technically read a full-on monster romance. I really haven't. I've read the first I Planet Barbarians. I really liked it. I thought it was fun. I really get protective of those books when people kind of denigrate them and act like they're stupid because they are fun and sweet and important, okay? And I've read the Horde King series, not all of them. I've read some, actually I haven't read any, I've read Zoe Draven, but I haven't read the Horde King series. It's on my TBR, I have also read the Clucanian series, which I really love. So those are all alien romances, I would say, where it's not a human hero, and he does have differences in his anatomy, but I haven't read a monster romance because I just don't know how I feel about a hero that looks like an animal. Like, I just don't know if I can do like a minotaur with a bull for a head or a spider. But Jen loves this one from the Book Refuge. Erin, this is another one from Erin on Patreon. A different Erin. I have two Erin Patreons. This is the one who recommended the Leviathan song, right? Anytime that I mention a reading slump, Erin is like, you know, it sounds like a good time to read Ensnared. And like, it is. So this one is happening. This one is happening for sure. Sorry about the loud clap. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a glimpse of what I have on my Kindle right now, as far as ARCs, as far as books I really want to read, books that I've recently bought that I'm excited about. I would love to know which of these you think I should prioritize first, and also let me know what's on your Kindle that you want to read, that you're most excited about next. I do have a Patreon if you want to join us, and we have reading sprints, we have exclusive videos, we have hangouts, we have readathons. It's such a fun group. The link to join is down below. You do get a 7-day free trial if you join at the So Delicious Sweethearts. And yeah, I think that's all. If you made it this far and you'd like to leave me an emoji, please feel free to leave me a pumpkin emoji because it's almost Halloween. And I'll see y'all in my next video.